Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope that you are not watching this in the evening. It's better to do it when you're fresh. I wanted to share something with you. I heard this quote today, actually, just a little while ago, and it had nothing to do with writing. It was actually a quote that somebody shared with me when I was working on trying to do my crunches every day, and she shared this with us, and it's by Helen Keller. And Helen Keller is actually somebody who lived a long, long time ago. But during the time that she was living, she struggled, I'm sure, immensely with being able to rise above the complications that she was born with. And so she was born unable to speak, unable to hear, and unable to see. So she was left with only being able to feel and being able to taste. So the idea of somebody having to learn to communicate, not being able to see, not being able to hear, and not being able to speak is the unimaginable. Her quote is, "We can do anything we want to if we stick to it long enough." Hmm. And I want you to marinate in that a little bit and just imagine what it is that you tell yourself you can and can't do during the course of your days. When I ask you to come up with an idea for writing, you say, "I can't." Or when your parents ask you to, whatever it is they want to, "I can't." Okay. Well, I like to say, well, if that's the story you want to tell yourself, then, that's the story you're telling yourself. Or you can say, "I can." So I believe that we can do really, really hard things. And this might be hard for you. So for some of us, it's like, "No, this is easy. I love this." And for some of you, it's like, "Oh my God, it's so hard. It's so hard." That's okay. So I'm going to take you to the next phase of our writing journey. And that is something that I'd like for you to work on today. And it's actually choosing a story that you want to publish. We're just going to do it. I would say over the next 2 weeks, I would like for this story to be finished. So the first thing I want you to do today is choose the story. Now, it may be a story that you already wrote, and you're like, "Well, I already wrote it. I already chose the story. I already wrote it. I'm done." No, 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 you're not done. You're never done. But it might be a new story because you kind of don't really love the stories that you already wrote, but something happened to you this weekend and you need for that to be the story. It's up to you. But what you're going to do today is you're not just going to dive in and start writing. You're going to actually tell the story. You're going to say it. You're going to say your story out loud. You're going to say it. If you're in class, you're probably just going to say it, out loud with nobody actually necessarily listening, but it's very helpful to say it. If you're at home, you can say it to a family member. If you're in your pod, you can say it to a teacher or another student in your class. But it's going to be such that you will have an opportunity to get this idea out of your head and how you want to say it before you actually start writing it. If you're stuck, then you could do another thing that I thought of, which was coming up with first times and last times. So the last time that sometimes gets ideas going in your head. And also things that you're really good at, so your strengths and your shortcomings. And when I thought of the strengths and shortcomings, I thought of my story. And I actually bounced the idea off of my husband. So once I came up with my idea, I wanted to think about, well, who am I telling this to? Because I needed for my story to be okay for third graders. And while I was telling my story, I needed to sketch a little bit to get a couple of the details down, because sometimes when I draw stuff out, it helps me see things a little bit better. And then I'm going to have you all do what I just did, but then start writing your story on loose leaf paper. That's the paper with the 3 holes on the side. And while you're doing that, keep that checklist by you, remembering to really spend time on that lead. How do you want to start your story? And you don't really have any instruction yet on your endings, but you're going to just remember that your story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you want to organize it in such a way that there are sections. First this happened, then this happened, then this happened, without necessarily saying all those words, but maybe you need to. That you want to craft it using dialogue and action and internal thinking and a setting so that your reader is there with you in your story. And this spelling and punctuation piece, I'm going to have you do something that's a little bit different. I'm going to actually ask that when you write a little bit, stop, go back, reread what you wrote, and actually edit while you go. This idea of they're going through the publishing process, and first we're going to draft it, then we're going to revise it, then we're going to edit it. Now you have like a 3-page story with periods missing and capitals missing. You forgot to cross that T. You didn't, dot that I. You don't have any commas. It doesn't make any sense. and you're doing all this, it's overwhelming. Why not do it as you go along? Constantly remembering, go back, reread it. Oops, I forgot a period. Oops, I left out a capital. Oh, I should probably put a new paragraph in here. Oh, this is a new idea. Maybe I want to, maybe I want to change the way I wrote this word because I want the reader to read it like, whoa, and then maybe I'll put it all in capitals and maybe make it in bold. So you're going to do all that today. So you write a little bit, stop, reread it, go back, fix, continue. And so I'm going to model that for you right now. I'm just going to not even tell the whole story, but I picked my story. And I thought about the thing that happened to me. It's kind of like one of those stories that doesn't go away for me. I continue to tell the story. I'm continuing to remind myself of the story for some reason. And the story is going to be called, on my pretend book, If I Didn't Have My Head Attached, I Would Forget That Too. Now, I don't know that I necessarily want that to be my title, but that is going to sort of drive my story. I might want to start it with dialogue. Nancy Lashensky, please come to the office. Nancy Lashensky, I thought, why are they calling me to the office? At that moment, Mrs. Palmer walked over to my desk. Nancy, you're being called to the office. I think you should head down there right now. She had a little sneaky look on her face like she knew something. Maybe that's how I'm starting it. Or, the thing you need to know about my school was that when this announcement came over the intercom to be dismissed to the office, it was usually something to be afraid of. You didn't go to the office because something was good that was about to happen. And I couldn't imagine what could have been happening that I had done to deserve to have to go to the office. Did I make a mistake? Did I forget something? Am I in trouble? So I stood up from my chair. I walked over to the door. I looked back at Mrs. Palmer, shrugged my shoulders, and headed down the hall. Those are some ways that I might start my story. I don't really know, but I'm going to keep going. So I walked into the office. I actually want to change that. I think I'm going to say that I hesitated into the office because I think it's a better verb. It helps you see how I might have walked into the office. So I hesitated into the main office where Mrs. Kennedy and Mr. Castellano, the band director, were waiting for me. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Mr. Castellano. Hello, Mrs. Kennedy. Why don't you come on into the office? We have something that we want to ask you. I walked into the office, feeling a little bit nervous, my heart palpitating, my brow sweating. Have a seat, she said. And I sat down at the desk across from the principal's seat. Mr. Castellano proceeded. Nancy, we've been doing a lot of thinking about this year's Memorial Day parade, and we would like to ask you if you'd like to be this year's majorette. Pause. Look. Me? I thought. They want me to be the majorette? They want me to lead the band in the Memorial Day parade? Is there some kind of a mistake? Did somebody hit their head? How can I be picked for this? This is an honor. This is the most incredible thing that has ever happened to me, I thought. Oh, that would be incredible. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for asking me. And yes, I absolutely will, I told them. I remember running home that day as fast as I could when the bell rang to tell my mom that I was picked to be the majorette in the Memorial Day parade, that we would be practicing and that I would get to wear this beautiful gold cape and carry this monster of a baton that was so heavy. You need to have strong arms to be able to lead the marching band. And it wasn't just Fairfield Elementary School with Mr. Castellano, it was also McKinley School. With that, there would be 100 students all marching in the parade, and I would be the one leading them. I'm going to stop. When you tell your story, it does not have to have that many details, or it can. The point is that I want to make sure that I'm clear about what it is that I want to say to my readers. I want my readers to know that this was a very, very big deal. And what is coming down the pike, you'll see as we get further into the story, is that there's sometimes things just never change, and Nancy, even in 5th grade, was forgetting her head if it were attached to her body. So I want you to think about a story that you really love. You're going to tell that story, and then when you start to write it, You're going to write only a little bit, stop, go back, fix things, continue. I do not expect you to even be close to being finished today. Tomorrow you will work on the same story. I don't even know if you'll be finished tomorrow. It is just a draft. By the end of the day tomorrow, I'm hoping that you will have most of your story done and maybe with lots of details, maybe be even close to having an ending. And next week on Monday, I will teach you how to write a slam dunk ending. All right. Have fun writing and have a lovely, lovely rest of your day.